And now I'd like to introduce Jonathan Gardner from Cox Architects in Melbourne, who's working with Daryl Jackson Architects of Melbourne. Daryl Jackson, you know, has done all the architecture virtually now on the MCG and Etihad Stadium with others, but has been involved in all of that, and also the third architect involved in the stadium management concept is Walter Brooke of Adelaide. Now, Jonathan's going to provide us with an overview of the current concept designs for the 50,000 seat Adelaide Oval. This is the same presentation, more or less, or almost exactly the same as was provided to the media several weeks ago, and I emphasise that although we think we've got it, or they think they've got it pretty right, these are still concept plans only. What they do show is a seating capacity of 50,000. They also show that we think we're going to get close to 77% of the seats under cover. It's under the drip line, as they call it. So if the rain happens for the first time ever to become exactly straight down, 77% of the seats are under cover, and it compares favourably with other stadia with 75% coverage at the MCG, 68% at the SCG, and 78% at the Gabba. What you'll also see is at least 2,000 dining spaces, as well as hospitality suites, open boxes, open bars, barbecue terraces and food courts. So I suggest we wait till the end of the presentation to take questions from the floor. So Jonathan, would you take over, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. I think Ian's just said everything that needs to be said. It sounds fantastic. Thank you, Ian and Mariano. Certainly we have been looking at ways and means of extending the capacity of the ground, and I think lifting the roof off the western stand and adding more tiers is not necessarily a good way to go about it. But one thing that we've been working on as part of the process over the last 6 months with the Stadium Management Authority has been understanding what the Adelaide Oval is all about, and learnings from the western stand and from other venues around Australia and the world. And the first thing about the Adelaide Oval is it's actually about bringing people together. It's not to do with a particular sporting event per se, it's actually how people come together as a club. The ground itself and the stands around the ground represent that club and provide the setting, or the stage set, if you like, for the great play to occur. But it's actually about how people meet, how people interact, and how people engage with each other. To some extent, the key element really has been the bringing together of the event and the participants. And the greatest threat that the Adelaide Oval faces is the same threat that most other sporting venues around the globe face, which is effectively the problem of the high-definition television at home. Why would you come out on a hot day or a wet night to see a sporting event live when in fact you can sit back in the armchair, reach for the remote control and watch a high-definition replay of an event on your 50-inch plasma TV? And the reality is that's because it's a live experience. You must come here because you'll get a unique experience. It's not able to be captured, canned and sold off in a franchise sense, but actually it's how you get access to the talent. It's how as humans we can interact with each other and come and attend the Adelaide Oval as part of a whole event experience. And so we've been very much focused on the journey from home into the Adelaide Oval, what you experience on the way, how you get here, how you engage once you're here. And again, it's not just about seats, it's not just about the ground, it's about the whole day and how you can interact behind the venue, behind the seating plats, and as well as in front of the seating plats towards the ground. One of the things that's really interesting is that there are now changing demographics that we need to be aware of. People these days are much more connected. People will, with their mates, organise a few text messages and suddenly 3 or 4 of you are off to the footy that night or off to see a game of cricket. It wasn't what happened 20 years ago, and we need to understand that the attention span, the speed of decision making has changed, and we now need to understand how we can incorporate an attractiveness into our venues by offering multiple offerings as distinct from just a beer, bench seat, a roof over your head and a game of cricket. It won't cut the mustard anymore. What's interesting, actually start to consider the attributes of the Adelaide Oval, and that really is partly about a ground setting within beautiful parklands close to the city. It's actually partly about not so much the architecture, but the gaps between the architecture where you can see through to the parks, where the Northern Mound, the Moreton Bay Figs, the Heritage Scoreboard, all come together to form a well-recognised venue. The idea that this is where people come to see a game of cricket, but what's interesting is to observe the members here coming to see a venue, an event here, and spending more time behind the stand than they do in the stand. So it says a lot about, it's a little bit like going to a Melbourne Cup, and some people go there and don't see a horse, but they've had a fabulous time because they've caught up with their friends, they've socially interacted, and they've really come together to celebrate a particular event. The other thing that we need to consider also is the attributes of the city. As you can see, the city is here. It's unique in that sense. I mean, Adelaide has just got such a great opportunity, unique in the world in terms of its relationship to the city. It's 400 metres. It's twice as close to the city as the MCG is to Melbourne. And Melbourne's pretty proud about how close the MCG is. This is twice as good. Part of the city, we have transport, rail, tram, car, taxi, bus. We have hotels, we have shopping, we have cinemas and entertainment. So the whole package can work together where people could come to the Adelaide Oval to see an event and have pre- and post-event functions able to be held within the city itself. Perhaps a family comes in, does some shopping, a couple might split off to see a movie, a couple might come to see a game of football or a game of cricket. It's really quite a spectacular opportunity and offering. When you put those two things together, what you do have is an opportunity that is uniquely of Adelaide. And that's actually how we can start to combat the television. So to come here, to come to the ground is actually a celebration. You can't get sitting on your Jason recliner at home. It's actually engaging in life, and that's really the important part of it. So if we start to work our way through the idea of the connection between the ground and the city, this certainly works relative to the north bank of the river that have been mooted in the past. And we've started to look at the whole precinct at one level as distinct from just how we're going to solve some problems to put 50,000 people around a beautiful ground. So we've looked at the way in which the events plaza can be considered as moving from around the festival area, across the river onto a plaza, and moving around the ground, embracing the ground, and providing a whole series of different spots and locations for people to congregate and enjoy things. And so if we look at that in abstraction, we can start to see how by moving across the plaza, we can open up and form connections into the tennis centre. We provide a range of multiple use functions off the plaza, and we allow access at a ceremonial level into the south end of the ground. And you can start to see the build-up of a broader picture, which really provides Adelaide with such a unique opportunity. Connection to the city, the idea of an events plaza, pavilions as distinct from just stands. It's not a stadium, it's a series of pavilions that need to be very carefully located to get around the turf. The idea of the Northern Mound being retained, the Stadium Management Authority has been very, very strong. Retention of the loved elements of the Moreton Bays, the Green Mound, the Heritage Scoreboard, the views through to the Cathedral, it's key to the components of the whole project.